Oh my goodness, everyone, we're back. It's time for my favorite part of the week and yours. It is another episode of The Score, Minnesota Opera's fabulous podcast all about opera.
Has been a minute.
Okay, it's been a while since we've done one of these. But I like Oprica. That's a beautiful name for a little girl.
I was just gonna say, okay, girl, Oprica.
Oprica. Meet my beautiful daughter, Oprica. So this is a podcast about my daughter, Oprica, and classical music and pop culture, all seen through the eyes of three Black queer classical music opera administrators. As always, I'm Rocky. I'm here with the fabulous Dr. Lee Bynum. Hello, doctor.
I'm here to do surgery.
Oh my goodness, there's a doctor in the house, thank God. And of course, the artist formerly known as Paige Reynolds, the luminous Iyawo Inawale. Hello.
Hello. Howdy. I'm great.
Good,
I'm fabulous.
Good. I mean, finally, we cannot complain about this weather.
Finally.
So excited.
Yeah.
See, this is why people live here, Lee.
Yeah. Last week I was in Virginia. I was visiting my family, and the first day I got there, it was 98 degrees Fahrenheit. And they also had that little piece of real feel. So it was actually 104 outside. And I had to say to Damien, maybe Minnesota weather is not quite as complaint worthy as I've been allowing it to be, because that was excruciating.
No, it's so funny because like the summer starts here and people get real quiet. No, but I was in DC too a couple of weeks ago, and like it got up to like 98 degrees while I was there, and I got off the Amtrak train and it hit me in the face, and I was like, I forgot about this. This is too much.
And that area has the nerve to be hot and humid.
Right. Like 100% humidity and 100 degrees. Child, no. If there was any question about me moving back to the East Coast.
You don't like the swamp weather?
I love you, DC. I love you. I had a beautiful time in you, but even when I was up in my mom's place in Jersey, like it wasn't nearly as humid. I don't know. I'm not a meteorologist, but it's wild. But we have more important and interesting things to talk about than the weather. First and foremost, happy Pride, everyone!
Yay!
So exciting. My favorite time of year.
Is it really?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of up there. I don't know. I like Pride. I like to be like, super gay. I like to make fun of all of the rainbow fishing going on.
My God, it's so obnoxious.
It is obnoxious, but also like I feel like especially here because of the weather we were just discussing, June is like the first month where you have like real late spring, early summer. So it feels like everything is happening at once, like Pride related or otherwise. So it is like, I think especially since living here, one of my favorite times of year. People are getting outside and
things are in bloom.
In the streets and whatnot, things in bloom. It's pretty, it's cute.
It's cute. Yeah. Most definitely. But I do also like every year it's like you sign on to social media and you see like these like 24-year-old marketing interns, like what are they going to come up with this year?
So which makes you more in your feelings, the Pride fishing or the Juneteenth fishing?
Oh, the Juneteenth fishing by far.
I mean,
because it's new.
I think the Juneteenth, I was going to say that it's relatively new. So I think like that inspires anger still, whereas like the Pride fishing is just like, you sit there and it's like, we respect the entire rainbow of humanity's diversity, just like the 11 herbs and spices. We're partnering. It's just like, okay, you guys. But last year, in June, we did a show where Iyawo and I talked about Pride and what it means to us and our favorite Pride memories. And Lee, you weren't able to be with us for that episode. I don't remember what you were off doing.
I don't either. I was trying to remember that now.
You were off doing something.
Was it when you did that panel for Juneteenth or around Juneteenth?
It
Maybe
was, but I don't know if that's where I was.
And spoiler alert, that seems
looked
like
busy, child.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But spoiler alert, that Juneteenth panel, it looks like it's going to become an annual thing. So people stay tuned for more information about that. But since you weren't able to be with us, and we're having a Pride-tastic day today, we are going to be joined later by Jane Ramseyer Miller and Kymani Kahlil from One Voice Mixed Chorus, which is an awesome LGBT chorus here in the Twin Cities. In honor of this beautiful queer day we're having today, I thought I'd ask you, what are your feelings about Pride? What are some of your favorite Pride memories? Anything come to mind as we begin this beautiful Pride month?
Yes, I guess since I probably have the most Pride memories, since I am the
You are
eldest.
Like 2 years older than me.
Yes, the
eldest. You are not some ancient antediluvian spirit.
Tell that to my niece.
All right, fair enough.
My favorite Pride was my first one, and I'm going to say I was 19, and it was in DC. And at the time, DC, and maybe it still does, I am out of the loop, C note at horrible mid-Atlantic summers. There used to be multiple Pride celebrations based on your demographic categories. So a group of friends of mine and we drove up from Richmond to DC for what was called Black Pride at the time. And
still a thing.
I'm so glad because it was some of the most fun ever. We were in DuPont Circle primarily, giving fake names to stupid boys that we met. And generally running around, taking a bunch of pictures. So this is like 1999. So these were like literally on disposable cameras. This is before you could do such things on your phone. Goodness. Yeah, right? This is why I feel antediluvian. But we had a great time, and I am younger than this group of friends, so I was the only one who did not have an ID, and my fake little ID that was so useful for getting in places at Columbia did not work in the same way. So I actually just had to work my youthful looks, which at the time, yes.
Did you have like one of those like West Village tattoo shops?
Yes, that is exactly. That said, I believe I was from Plam Beach, which is close to Palm Beach. It's just a slightly different spelling. But outside of
Plam Beach
gay bars, it didn't work quite as well. But we did, we went around.
I think that's the title of the episode. Live from Plam Beach.
Plam Beach Pride.
Plam Beach Pride, that's it.
Couldn't halfway remember the name that was on the fake ID, which was also not the fake name that I was giving that day. It was a whole lot of tomfoolery, but it was the best kind because it was the first time I remember just being out and about with the group of friends, being as gay as we wanted to be, just running around, creating confusion, having a great time, somehow not getting cited for open carrying on the street because I have a specific memory of walking down the street, sloshing a drink, but it was, first of all, it was a different millennium. So it was literally a different time and place,
It's
but it
so
was
true.
also like one of the last memories I have of just full fun with like no anything like really kind of pulling me back to reality, right? Because if you remember what happened the next year was like 9/11, which kind of ended a lot of the fun for no reason that we were having at the time. But yeah, I really love that experience, and I've gone to plenty of pride parties and parades since then, including a really terrible one in Washington Heights a couple years ago that Damien and I went to,
Why was it so terrible?
because people were singing arias. And yeah, look, I don't have anything against opera, but there is a time and place for everything. And that was not it. It was not a fun party.
Say, is it like drag opera, or like was it giving costumes? Was it like
It was giving opera gays singing for each other. Like that was it. And I was like, can y'all just keep something in my glass so that I can make it through this whole night and not embarrass me
just
and my
like,
husband?
I'm the queen of the night.
Somebody did that aria, which caused a neighbor to come knocking because I'm like, nobody's trying to hear you squeak out those high notes right now. So yeah,
That is a crime.
it was, and it also ended our relationship with that particular couple. I was like, I'm not hanging out with them again. That we are good.
I would do the same thing.
Yes, you would have.
Yeah, at the very least, question the friendship. At the very least, yeah.
Oh, that sounds so fun. Do you have any big pride plans this year?
Yes, to sit in the air conditioning and catch up on Legendary and RuPaul All-Star 7, which I just started. Absolutely obsessed. But I have so much TV to catch up on because I was scrambling to finish a bunch of things towards the end of the month. So yeah, I'm gonna have a gay old time indoors with the privacy of my own Malbec.
All right. Well, but maybe we'll drag you out for the parade, at least.
Yeah. As long as it doesn't conflict with Legendary Season 3 starring Keke Palmer. I can't watch it alone.
I get it. Priorities.
Fair enough. What about you, Iyawo? Do you have any big plans this year? Any thoughts about Pride in general this year?
My plans are about in alignment with Lee's. I will probably
we're old.
Not gonna lie. Well, it's not that. It's that like during my like year in white, I don't do crowds like that. I don't do crowds like that. I'm not gonna lie. As much as I enjoyed even seeing Carmen, just being around that many people was like, whoo, afterwards I was like, I need to go lay down. Like so maybe I'll ride my bike over to the parade. And so then I can easily dip out whenever I'm ready, or but I have some good old queer TV to watch. Yes, I do. I've been watching Gentleman Jack on HBO.
Oh, that's a good one.
So if I don't, have you seen it?
Yes.
Oh
what
my
is
gosh.
it? Is it fiction?
It is based on a true story, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yes. A woman
like fiction.
Yes. The amount of drama is giving fiction, so it's not like you're gonna be bored. It's not like a documentary, but she was a woman who like owned land and stuff, and some people would mistake her for a man or say she act like a man, and she was kind of half openly, half not a lesbian. Would have like women close companions and stuff like that. Also investing in like coal and stuff like that, like, and fully her audacity is what makes the show very amusing. The gay audacity is just
I love gay
amazing.
audacity.
She's just like, she basically walks around like, what? I'm an honest woman. I take care of my business. You see me taking care of my business. So what does it matter what's going on in my bed? I'm a respectable woman, no matter what y'all say. It's basically her thing. And
Okay.
I love it. So
It's a good show.
I'll be watching that if I don't finish it like this weekend.
Well, I'm down for that. I think probably most of my plans are in line with y'all's. If I'm being honest. But we do have a couple of couples that we sort of have a little standing tradition that we all go to the parade and then walk around Loring Park and, you know, go to all the booths and whatnot, and, you know, might have a cocktail or two. So it sounds like plans are coalescing for that to maybe happen again, which is cool, which is exciting. I'm not super excited about the crowds either. All this COVID child, I'm not here for that. But, you know, if there's a way that we can do it safe and stay masked and all of that, you know, hopefully, because, you know, I just want to go out and I want to see my peoples.
Yeah.
It's always so nice. It's always a nice excuse to put on some hoochie daddy shorts and run into people, or it's like, oh, should I be wearing hoochie daddy shorts in front of hi, how's it going?
Well, just don't touch anybody, because I've heard that's how monkeypox gets spread.
Oh no, I will only be touching my husband.
Good.
Okay.
Don't touch me. Excuse me. My arms locked up like this. Don't
Yeah,
touch
that's
me.
not Is it spread through touch? I thought it was an STI.
Oh.
That's what I thought.
I mean, look, I didn't survive 2 years of COVID to catch monkeypox. So I
No,
heard about it
child.
and then was just like, I'm shifting what I'm doing in
The
life.
name alone
The
is
name
just
alone.
no, absolutely not.
I mean, how do you even say to somebody, yeah, girl, I got monkeypox. I can't go out. Like, it's not even like.
Like, I don't want to sound ableist. But that's a diagnosis that I don't know how I would tell people.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know where to begin.
Me either.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't even had the nerve to like even look up a whole lot of details about it.
No,
I'm
I
just
saw
it's another thing. I don't.
I saw one picture by accident and I was like, no, that's it. And I'm just like the kind of person that, like, you know, when I'm watching my trash, like 90 Day Fiance, and a commercial for Dr. Pimple Popper comes on, I have to avert my eyes. I can't do it. Medical photography is not for me.
No.
In any way, shape, or form.
Oh, you don't do none of that, huh?
None of that. That's another big reason why I don't like horror movies. I don't like gore in any any shape or fashion. No, thank you.
The 2020s have been trash so far.
Garbage.
Complete. I want to hit reset so bad and just be like, let's just start at 2030 and see if we can do that right.
Or let's just go back to 1999.
Yesterday was Prince's birthday, wasn't it?
Just hit reset.
Yes, it was.
It was.
It was.
Purple Day, indeed.
Well, I guess since this is coming out on Monday, like 5 days ago, was Prince's birthday. But yes,
have y'all gotten to see the big mural?
Not in person.
Downtown? Me neither. I heard it's beautiful. It seems very, very big. You got to see it, Lee, in person. Oh,
that's
happy birthday, Prince!
Yes, happy birthday, Prince. But enough about this monkeypox business. Happy birthday, Prince. I don't want to think about that anymore. So we were thinking what would be fun would be to do another quick fishbowl segment. So you all can get to
Yay!
know us a little bit better. And this time it's going to be pride themed. So we've got a bunch of pride questions in the bowl. And so I'm going to pull one out.
Fun.
Alrighty. So Lee and Iyawo and me, how did you meet your partner? Tell us about your meet cute.
Aww.
Aw, because we're all booed up. How'd y'all meet? How'd you and Damien meet?
We met on Match.com.
Oh.
We let an algorithm do the work, and it, put us together. Apparently, I was the first person that he met on Match. I had already been on before and was meeting some very interesting young men. I will put it like that.
Did you meet the Patti LaBelle guy on Match?
Thank God, no. I think if I had, I probably just would have deleted the app and kept it moving. But no, we met and we chatted for a couple of months because he was on tour at the time. And I actually think that ended up being like the really good piece of it, because it meant that we couldn't move too quickly. And apparently that has been an issue for me in the past. So this kept us from going too quickly. And then it just sort of worked out that he was going to be on tour in LA and then San Diego. At the same time, I was going to San Diego to visit my dear, dear friend, Miranda, who is coming to visit me here in Minneapolis, my first ever visitor now that I'm living in Minneapolis. But that is a tangent on a tangent. So back to the actual story.
No, but it's serendipitous. It's very serendipitous.
It is. So yeah, I went out there to California and we went on like multiple dates, like each day, and went to dinner one day, went to Disneyland one day, then like hung out in San Diego one day. We rode a random rickshaw that someone was just like driving down the streets of San Diego. And I should have known at that point, I was like, this is going to be an interesting relationship. But the rest is history. He came back off tour and then we ended up, doing regular couple things and quickly moved in together and then quickly moved to China. And, that was like our first year together.
First vacation, we're moving to China.
and I guess I have to take back that part about saying, so we wouldn't move too quickly, as it's just coming out of my mouth. Yeah, and then we just moved to China because it made sense. So.
After a couple months, it just made sense. Aww, I love love.
Yeah.
Love it. Am I next?
Yeah, go next.
So me and my partner, Kel, we met Kalechi. Let me say his full name, Kalechi.
Ooh,
we met in
pretty.
DC. Yes, he's not Nigerian. It's an Igbo name. Shout out to Igbos. Yeah, he is from DC, like born and raised there. And so we met while I was in college at Howard. It was my senior year. And me and my two apartment mates / very close friends had like this favorite club that we would go to on U Street called Velvet Lounge.
Okay, yeah.
Closed now.
I've been there many a time.
Velvet Lounge was our spot because it wouldn't be like, sometimes it would be too crowded and sometimes it wouldn't, but it wasn't one of the bigger clubs and it didn't just play like the top 40 pop and stuff. Like it was more R&B and hip hop.
I never see you there.
And sometimes it would be like, maybe because of, I don't know how old I was.
Because I was at Velvet Lounge all the time. Like all the time.
2016?
No. In 2006. Okay. Never mind. Never mind. It's all good. I'm glad it was still there for you to enjoy.
She's like, when I was in 4th grade, no.
Part of my 30th
grade, actually.
Part of my 30th birthday was at Velvet Lounge in 2011. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna shut my mouth. You keep telling your story.
So yeah, around 2016, at Velvet Lounge. May she rest in peace. Yeah, I was there. I was there with a friend, and she had met some friends who were like local to DC but didn't go to Howard, and they had seen each other in the club and started talking and stuff. And this friend, he had another friend with him, my partner, Kalechi. So, we're talking like a little bit, but I wanted to dance. I was there to dance. Also, I remember I was not having a good night. I remember this distinctly because there was someone else I had there that I had a situationship with, and it was just I didn't want to see him at the time, and I was in my feelings. So it's luckily, fatefully, Kalechi was there to dance with, and being able to dance, having rhythm, not just, it's one thing to just like stand there and let someone grind on you or just like do a two-step. It's like another thing to actually have rhythm. And so I was like, okay, I like you, like we can groove, okay. And it was a thing where we were all there maybe until the club was like closing or something, or about to close, because that's where we would stay at Velvet Lounge. Often it would be like, okay, all the other places like for the night kind of sucked, we'll just go to Velvet Lounge, all reliable, right? And his friends ended up giving me a ride home. He had some interesting friends at the time. Some of them a little reckless. One of them got in a fight while he was supposed to be getting us home. He got out his car and went to punch another driver.
What?
So we were pulled over in a parking lot because his friends had to talk to the cops for a minute. And his other friends were trying to calm him down. And Kalechi, he just stayed in the car where we were because he was like, I don't even want to be part of that. I'm gonna let them handle it. So we got to talk a little more in that moment. Waiting in the parking lot on U Street. Yeah. And he asked for my number, and it turned out we worked really close by each other. I was an intern at the Smithsonian American Indian Museum at the time, and he was just like a couple blocks down at the Air and Space Museum. So we met up for lunch. And we already knew we had these mutual friends, and hang out a few times. He also was friends with like someone I knew from Howard, and so yeah, we hit things off. And I had another boyfriend. I had a boyfriend at the time, and but then when we broke up a few months later,
player.
Well,
you just crushed a lot.
Life. I just crushed a lot. That's all. It was my senior year at Howard. What's a girl supposed to do?
True.
In DC.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Enjoy your life.
Yeah. The rest has been history. But I will say, even though I am in a relationship with people might look at us and sometimes assume it's a hetero relationship. Not everyone knows that I'm queer, or that I'm gender fluid. And Kel, like, certainly more is in alignment with heterosexuality. One of the things that I knew, from very early on, there's like, oh, this is a big green flag, is that he always had lots of queer friends. And like it was nothing like, whether it was like Black gay men, or like one of his best friends like for a while, she's lesbian, and just like having those and like long-term relationships. I was like, okay, this says a lot about your character. And sure enough, like he's I think a really good example of an ally, and has always made me feel safe and loved in my identity. So, that's our little story.
You young whippersnappers, you have such open minds and hearts.
Young people are so much more accepting.
Oh, well, I guess it's my turn. So I mean, you can take a look at my astrological chart: Sagittarius Sun, Gemini rising, Sagittarius Mercury, the chaotic parts of my personality on Front Street. So I think this is this is one of those stories. Yeah, so my husband Dennis and I, we've been together. It'll actually be 10 years in July, which I can't even fathom, is so wild to me. But yeah, we actually I was living in DC at the time, and I was working for an interior design studio, and we went to Atlanta for a gift show. And at the time, Dennis was working for a different company here in Minneapolis than he works for now. And he was there for the same gift show. And so I remember being a kid and thinking that, like, you know, the most adult thing that adults do is like go and pick up the dry cleaning. And then like later it was like go and pick up the dry cleaning and like hook up with somebody on a work trip. Like hook up with a stranger on a work trip. So basically the short version is me and my coworker, who actually I have known since I was 6 years old. We have been friends for like 3 decades. We were there at the show together, and our boss like went to bed. It was like 6 o'clock. She was like, I'm tired. I've been walking around all day. I'm going to bed. So my friend and I were like, all right, well, let's go to the hotel bar. Let's get a drink. And so we go into the bar. There's like 1,000 people in this bar because everyone's there for this conference. And we're like, oh Lord, this is too much. But then I spot all the way on the other side of the bar, there's a booth that's open. So I'm like, oh my God, girl, run, let's go get that booth. And so we run over and we sit in the booth, and we were like, okay, well, let's not be a-holes. Since it's so crowded in here, we'll just sit on one side of the booth because it's just the two of us. And, you know, if somebody else wants to come and sit down, you know, whatever. So I'm getting up to go get the first round of drinks, and I hear someone behind me go, oh, are these seats taken? And I'm just like, oh no, go ahead. What do you want again? Oh, Jack and Diet Coke? Okay, I'll be right back. And so I go. It's so crowded in this bar. It takes me a half an hour to get these drinks, literally a half an hour to get 2 drinks. I come back. She's made best friends with these random strangers sitting across from us. Like, oh, ha, 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 ha. Oh, this is my friend Rocky that I was telling you about. And then I sit down, and I'm sitting across from this man with very, very pretty eyes, very pretty in general. And he's just giving me like that Scorpio stare, just like staring like into my soul. And I was just like, oh, hello, sir. How are you? And, you know, usually I'm a little bit introverted, like when meeting strangers, but for some reason, like, I was cracking jokes. I was like life of the party. And finally they were like, it was Dennis and like one of his coworkers and then another friend of theirs. And they were like, well, we have dinner reservations, like, so we have to go. It was so nice to meet you. And I was like, you know, oh, like, absolutely, like, you know, talk to you later, you know, expecting to never ever see these people ever again. And this is where, if Dennis was here, he'd take over the story. And he says that he was like going down the escalator about to like get in a taxi or an Uber or whatever and go to dinner. And there was this voice in his head saying, go back, go back, go back. And he was just like, hold on, guys, I gotta go see about a guy. and meanwhile, me and my friend are still sitting at the booth, and she starts hitting me, and she's like, he likes you. And I was like, God, I've never done that. Oh my God. And then, like, just like the Salt and Pepper song, she was like, oh my God, he's coming this way. And he comes over, and he was so cute, and he was really nervous, and he asked me for my number, and so I gave it to him. And then after he got back from dinner, he, you know, called me. We went back to the bar and we had a drink. And then one thing led to another, as tends to happen with but we had like this really great time. We were laughing and we were connecting and we were really like talking and getting to know each other, and it was like this really like beautiful, lovely moment. And so then we were going to sleep, and then the lawnmower started, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I snapped back to reality like, oh no, I have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and work, and no, we can't. We can't do that at all. So I left him a little note, and I left it next to his pillow. And then the next day, like, I was like thinking like I would get like a nice little text from him or something, or like, because like it seemed like, we had connected in a way. And this was at a point where like I like had an unfortunate hookup a few months prior, and I was like, I am swearing off men. I am not dating. I'm going to focus on me and my happiness and getting myself together. I have no time for dating. I have no time for boy. And now like I met this guy that I like, and he didn't text me all day. He didn't call me all day. And then I was just like, oh my God, I am a slut from the 90s. I cannot believe I did that. I totally broke my promise to myself. And my friend, the same friend, was like, girl, you need to calm down and come have a drink with me at the bar. And so I was like, no, I'm gonna go upstairs and eat cheeseburgers and pull the covers over my head because I'm a dirty slut. And she was like, no, you're being stupid. And so then we're sitting there, we're having a drink, and he just happened to come into the bar. And he comes up behind me, and I give him a look, and I was just like, you didn't get my note, did you? And he was like, no, what note? And then he sat down next to me, and the rest is kind of history. I left the next day to come back to DC. He went back to Minnesota, and we just started texting. And then a couple of weeks later, I came out to Minnesota to visit him, and I ended up staying a week. And we were long distance for 2 years until we finally were just like, this is stupid. And I moved out here to Minnesota to be with him. And 8 years later, here we are. So that's our story.
That's very sweet.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, I like him. I guess we'll keep him.
My favorite stories are the stories that have like, just that moment of fate. Just like if you had made this one little decision the other way, like.
You're right. Like if he had just decided like
happened?
not to come to the bar that night, we probably never would have reconnected.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or didn't listen to that voice that was like, go back, go back.
Mhm. But the cute thing is that the housekeeper found the note. Apparently it had fallen under the bed, and she like put it next to his like stuff. So we saw it.
That's so sweet.
Oh, that makes my heart all warm. I love hearing those stories.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll take a little break, and we'll come back with our friends from One Voice Mixed Chorus, and we will continue this summer of queer love when we get back. We'll see you after the break. All right, and we are back, everybody, and it is time for the next part of our fabulous Pride Extravaganza episode. We're so happy to have our next guests here. We have two wonderful people from One Voice Mixed Chorus with us. We have Kymani Kahlil. She is a Twin Cities-based generative performing artist, storyteller, singer, dancer, and musician. She has spent over a decade honing her skills as a generative artist through her work with regional Twin Cities theaters, as well as public schools and programs for young artists as a director, music director, composer, and choreographer. They've worked with youth artists throughout the Twin Cities and Greater Minnesota, teaching residencies and leading workshops in music and theater creation. Her most recent work as an artist and contributor has She's appeared with Wayward Theater's Mixtape, Behind the Mask storytelling series, Remembering, Singing Water with One Voice Mixed Chorus, The Establishment of Genderqueer Sound Culture, an essay appearing in the American Composers Forum, and Interact Center for the Visual and Performing Arts, Hear Them Now, a movement piece exploring the intersectionality of queer identities within the disability community. Kymani is a recipient of the 2020 Artist Initiative Grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board and is currently developing the one-woman show Peaches and Pickles, Perspective is Suspect, which explores the intersections of race, gender, sexuality, and racial profiling. Kymani believes all areas of the performing arts are essential to building community, not only in education or as entertainment, but is important because of its power to engage audiences in social discourse and elevate new and uncommon narratives that can be informative, cathartic, and community building. Currently, she is the community engagement coordinator at One Voice Mixed Chorus, but that's not all. We also have the incredible Jane Ramseyer Miller, who is in her 27th year child as artistic director. 27 years. Woo! As artistic director of One Voice Mixed Chorus, Minnesota's GLBTA chorus, and also serves as artistic director for Gala Choruses, a national association of 200 LGBTQ plus choruses. With Gala Choruses, she has been instrumental in cultivating Gala's New Harmony resources, addressing equity, access, and belonging. She holds a Master's of Music in Choral Conducting from the University of Minnesota and a BA in Psychology from the University of Waterloo in Ontario, Canada. She served as musical director for several church choirs, as well as for Trans Voices, Calliope Women's Chorus, Fiera Voce Femina, and Voices for Peace, a multicultural youth choir. She especially enjoys creative community collaborations and has created choral music with the Women's Cancer Resource Center, Shakopee Women's Correctional Facility, In the Heart of the Beast Puppet and Mask Theater, Kairos Dance Theater, Mudaiko, and Teens Rock the Mic. Her choral highlights include over 25 new commissioned works, including Bayard Rustin, The Man Behind the Dream, which I'm sure we will be talking about during this conversation, and One Voice's 2020 Remembering Singing Water film. Welcome to the show, Jane and Kymani. We're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us, indeed.
So Jane, I just want to start off, full disclosure for the audience, way back when I first moved to Minnesota and I wanted to get back into the arts and having arts as part of my daily practice, a group called One Voice Mixed Chorus took a chance on a young man named Rocky Jones, and I was the operations and communications manager there for a couple of years. And so it's so good to see you again and reunite. And so I just thought it would be so exciting to have you all on because you have such a fabulous concert coming up and such great work that you do in the community, just in general. And so I want to get the word out there as much as possible about One Voice Mixed Chorus. So Jane, can you tell us a little bit about One Voice Mixed Chorus and its mission and all that good stuff?
Yeah, thank you, Rocky. It's really an honor to be a part of this conversation. So One Voice celebrates our 35th anniversary next year. So been around a while, yeah. And really the chorus started as an outgrowth of the AIDS epidemic. So at the time in the late 80s, there was not a lot of connection between the men's community and the women's queer community. And the founder, Paul Petrella, decided he wanted to start a chorus that really brought these communities together, especially as people were caring for folks who were dying of AIDS. And that's where it started. In the beginning, it was, at least on the surface, gay men and lesbians. And then all of a sudden, a few straight people started to join us. And then it was clear that we also had transgender and non-binary people who were a part of this community. And they were, of course, part of our community earlier, but became more visible and more a part of our identity. So we've been around for 35 years and most consistently perform at the Ordway, but we do the same number of concerts out in the community as we do in sort of ticketed performance halls. So that's a piece of who we are too, really connecting out in the community when there isn't a pandemic.
True. Fair enough. And Kymani, how did you get involved with chorus? Because I know that before you were the civic engagement coordinator, you were a singer, correct?
I was first introduced to chorus in the 90s when I was 19 years old. And I believe it was like maybe the third or fourth year of the chorus. And I had never had any other exposure or connection to the LGBTQ community, other than I had just started working with the newly formed at the time District 202, which was one of the first, youth centers for LGBTQ youth in the nation. And so that's kind of how I first heard about One Voice. I think the magazine back then was called Lavender. And I think I might have been sitting in Cafe Weird, which is now like, tell you how old I am. Way back when, the professional world kind of removed me from One Voice, but I was reintroduced in 2017. And I believe that was for an alumni concert. So I got to reconnect with some of the folks that I had been with the chorus, 20 years prior. And then came back again for the Transgender Voices Festival, and then played keyboard on the Bayard Rustin piece and worked with Steve Malloy there. And just kept reconnecting with Jane. And then Jane said, hey, do you want to come and work with One Voice? And I said, yeah, okay. What do you want me to do?
Serendipitous.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I love so much about One Voice is your mission. Creating social change by I just had a brain fart.
It starts with building community.
Building community and creating change by coming together in song, raising our voices in song. But I love that mission so much. And so I'm just, curious, throughout the years, how has that mission sort of evolved and changed, and how, what is sort of the experience that you have found, like with the singers and out in the community, like some of the changes that you've seen by raising your voices together in song?
Kymani, you were part of the chorus before I was. Do you want to talk about the early years?
Yeah, there was only the L and the G back then. And that's how it was for many, many years. And that was really revolutionary that, the gays and the lesbians are singing together. So now we've got, the B and the Q and the T and all the extras, even the allies, which is, I think really unique for any chorus. Oftentimes straight spaces or heterosexual spaces do not have an interest in centering the voices or issues and experiences of LGBTQ plus people. And so that there is a dedicated group of folks who not only are interested in centering their voices, but raising it with them, I think is pretty lovely and wonderful. That's had quite an impact. And I think also just the growth of the chorus. When I was in it, there were 32 or 33 of us, and now it's gone to be as many as 125. So I think the impact has been very amazing.
Which makes y'all the biggest in North America, is that correct?
Well, size doesn't matter, really.
Oh, okay. I don't know about that. Maybe to y'all.
We're definitely one of the biggest. But I think for sure, within the movement, we've been a leader in terms of commissioning and the kinds of work that we do in the community. When I was thinking about your question about what have we done over the years, I think it's been 25 years ago that I put our mission statement in front of the chorus and at a retreat. And I said, okay, if we're going to fulfill our mission of creating social change, what does it look like? And people were in small groups all over the room. And 10 of those groups came back and said, we need to sing in schools. And oh my gosh, that was so controversial and scary 25 years ago. And we did it. And we've been singing in school and youth settings ever since. And it's been really remarkable to watch what's happened in schools and with GSAs, and especially in greater Minnesota. I'm remembering a school we sang at there where parents kept their kids home from school that day because they didn't want the queers infecting them. Yeah, it's very different now, especially in the metro area, but even today in greater Minnesota. Just 3 years ago, we were on our way to Ely for a concert, and we had a school we were singing at in Mountain Iron, and a week before we arrived, the principal canceled that concert because of parents. The parents were complaining. So it's real.
Jane, I'm glad that you brought up this question about schools, because this is something that's just so present on my mind, given all these conversations lately around grooming. And those of you who are listening can't see me using the scare quotes, which I feel like are really necessary right now. And I was thinking about that because part of what we've been doing at Minnesota Opera has been, with our education programs, really trying to wrest them from these really challenging gendered histories that I think just at this point are just impeding kids who just want to sing from feeling like they have that space. And part of how I have thought that we could move through that was through the commissioning of new works that are not so much focused on, your voice is a coloratura, which means that you have to be this kind of a woman character in something. And the fact that y'all have this piece about Bayard Rustin is so fascinating and exciting to me. And I would love to hear a little bit about that. And I will say for our listeners, if the name is unfamiliar to you, he was a civil rights and gay rights leader and activist who worked with Ella Baker, Martin Luther King, A. Philip Randolph. He died probably about a year before One Voice was founded, and this would have been like the height of the AIDS epidemic. And I just would love to hear any reflections you could have about the piece, why you thought to have it commissioned, and maybe what its significance is in this particular political climate.
So I learned about Bayard Rustin, 20 years ago, and I grew up as a Mennonite and as a queer person, and I couldn't believe I'd never heard of this queer Quaker African-American badass. And it kind of blew my mind. And so I read a lot about him. And then in, 2016, that year, I was having lunch with a friend of mine in Cincinnati who was a composer, gay, Black man. And he said, have you ever heard of Bayard Rustin? And I was like, yeah. And he said, I want to write a piece about blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, we will commission it. We will perform it. And we worked for several years to do the research and create the libretto. And it's one of the most amazing things I've done in my life, honestly.
I can just say it is a beautiful piece.
Yeah, Rocky was there. Yeah.
It is beautiful. Absolutely stunning. Yeah. But sorry, keep going.
Well, I mean, the reason it was so important to me to do this was that Bayard was this incredible Renaissance man and activist, and nobody knows who he is. And more and more, this piece has now been done by, I think, close to 10 choirs around the country. And it was streamed by Gala choruses, the LGBT network of choruses. And so hundreds more saw it there. So I'm just thrilled about the kind of exposure that's had. And Kymani, that was a part of that too. Do you want to talk about your experience at all?
If you yet don't know who Bayard Rustin is, make Google your friend. There is way more information about him now than there was 20 years ago when I first learned about him. And so, yeah, and I think it's amazing to be able to uplift these stories and these voices of these people who have had a really profound impact on our culture and on our communities. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of commissions and people with profound impact, a little birdie in an email said that there's another commission around the corner about one of my personal faves, non-binary icon ancestor Pauli Murray. Can you tell us about that? I am thrilled, whatever it is. I can't wait to hear more.
Yeah. Okay. What birdie told you that? Did I tell Rocky? I forgot. Okay. So another person I had never heard of, and my wife, I don't know, a year ago said, "You got to hear this podcast," and it was about Pauli Murray. Paige, I'm going to have you describe who she is. Actually, just can you describe who she is, and then I'll talk about the commission.
Sure, I'm happy to describe who she is. So Pauli Murray, she I will use she because that is often what was used in her lifetime. Yep. And didn't get a chance to tell us otherwise what pronouns she would like to use. But she was a lawyer, had a profound impact on civil rights. She was an activist in that way. I think we sometimes don't always, I think especially like the law part of the movement, in both like racial justice and LGBTQ rights, like I think a lot of those people go unsung in general. So that's definitely true for Pauli Murray. So she was a phenomenal lawyer, especially getting to focus on gender justice, and a theologian as well, even with her identities. And I think I've heard or read some amazing sermons of hers about like just the divinity of queerness, or God, not having a gender or being all genders. And I was like, oh, somebody was saying these things from a pulpit. Oh my God. Like, this is what I needed to hear. So she was specifically Episcopalian in the Episcopal Church. So she was among like also the first among the first like Black folks to be ordained, and like first women as well. So she had both of those things happening, and it's just left a tremendous impact.
Yeah. So I heard this podcast, again, just like Byard, it blew me away. And then I read her biography, and I just started doing about her book of poetry. But I had a donor call One Voice and ask if she could donate some money for a commission. And I was like, yeah, I've got it. And just this week, I finally managed to meet with the attorney who manages Pauli Murray's estate. And they are excited to work with us on this commission. And they are connected with her niece. And they have photographs, and we'll work with them to get permission to set some of her poetry and tell the story of her life. I think, like Byard, the hardest part is going to be how to figure out, her story is so rich, how to figure out what parts we don't include. So some of the legislation that and legal work that she did in terms of writing was influential at the Supreme Court level for both laws about race equity and women's rights. Incredible.
And then I said, I don't think I mentioned it, I said non-binary icon, because Pauli would say, openly, not really identifying as a woman, and, especially as I think I was reading about family members of hers as she was younger who was very like actually understanding of this, of just like, Pauli is kind of more prefers to, be called a boy's name, or, be both. And later on you see like her preaching about this as well, and very much marrying like her queerness, being a reflection of God being all things or all genders, which is just really beautiful to see her understanding. And like yeah, there are lots of challenges that came with it. And, the barriers of being seen as a woman in the first place, even if you don't identify as non-binary, wanting to study certain places or whatever, and being told, oh, women don't really do that and stuff like that. But then also being like, oh, I'm not quite a woman anyway. So there's so many layers to her story. So I'm
Yeah.
so excited.
Yeah. Well, and when we were meeting with this attorney, she said, now, are you going to perform this in a church? And I was kind of taken aback because I didn't know if the right answer was yes or no. And so I said, well, this will be at the Ordway Concert Hall, but it's possible that we could also do it at church. And then I wasn't even thinking about Polly being ordained, right? And she has this connection to the National Cathedral. And she's like, I think they would be interested in doing this. So no idea if that would happen. But all of a sudden I started imagining all these different religious groups that could take a commission like this and really send it across the country, across the world, actually.
Yes.
That's incredible. That's incredible. That would be so cool, the National Cathedral. And just for the record, yes, I was the birdie. But it wouldn't be it wouldn't be the first time I've been called a bird. So but getting back to sort of a previous topic, I know we wanted to talk a little bit more about just sort of some of the youth programs that you all have going on. And so, Kymani, I'd love if you'd like to talk about like some of the work you're doing out in the community with the youths in Greater Minnesota and the Remembering Festival and all that fun stuff.
Yes. Okay. So we're kind of evaluating the Out in Our Schools program right now. But since then, I've made a proposal for establishing a dedicated LGBTQI youth course that would engage and learn in a space that is entirely queer identified. All of its facilitators, clinicians, volunteer staff, everyone would be members of the LGBTQ community. They would have an opportunity to connect with one another, create relationships, and then they would also be participating in creating material that would be commissioned for this chorus to perform. And that I just think is, that's exciting for me because our youth today have a vocabulary and perspective to articulate in a way that we never have before.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really good at it. And I'm excited about the idea of really taking their words and their voices and really centering them in a place that gives them some power and agency. I think that's really, I'm very excited about it. So that's my, that's kind of our biggest kind of program that we're developing right now. We're looking for young people who identify in the community to participate on a planning team that will help select repertoire as well as develop the repertoire that will be commissioned for the chorus. And then the chorus will also then meet and premiere sometime in February 2023.
Lovely.
Wow.
Yeah, in addition to that, I'm hoping that, we can also get a local chorus of our youth locally and maybe even present at Advocacy Day at the Capitol. Any way in which we can safely make them more visible and more centered to speak for themselves.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
That's incredible. I wish there were a time machine so that I could go back 25 years and be a part of that, because it will change the course of kids' lives. I am convinced of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That was one of the things I was thinking about as I was developing this program. All of those things that might have helped our lives be more whole at a time when we were taught that we either didn't exist or that our exist was only wrong or negative or abominable, rather than being told that we come in whole. And part of that wholeness is developing the special and unique gifts about us, and really having that affirmed and uplifted. And I would love to see that change. It's already on its way. It's been here, and I want to just move it forward. So
Kymani, in case anybody's listening from Greater Minnesota, can you talk about the Zoom piece and how people that aren't in the metro area could get involved?
Absolutely. So go to the One Voice website and look under the community page. There will be information more about what this affinity course is and how you can get involved and learn more information. It's open to youth at any level. I mean, preferably junior high, high school. For the first rollout, it will be high school students primarily. But if students want to be involved in the planning team, I think it's important to get all of their voices. And so if you are at junior high level to young adult level and are interested in participating in the planning team, then yes, go to the One Voice website. There will be a registration form that you can fill out there to get more information. And we will meet by Zoom for approximately 4 to 6 times and just do some writing exercises, share our stories and our experiences, talk about what the rhythm of equality looks like today, and and keep it moving forward. And if you are living in Greater Minnesota, we're interested in what you have to say too. And I think that's a really powerful way also to establish some community across county borders, that I hope will continue to go forward so that we can get beyond some state lines too. And, there are so many of us that are just waiting for some people that are like us to throw their hand up so we can kind of like figure out how to maneuver to get to places with one another where we can, share those spaces and be there to have that uplift and that support.
That's super, super dope. And so just to make sure that we get that information out there, it's onevoicemn.org, correct?
Correct.
Oh, cool. I think I've been on that site once or twice. So super exciting. You all have a concert coming up on June 18th and 19th at the Ordway called Sound Mind, which I know you all are really excited about. We're really excited about it. So can you all tell us a little bit about Sound Mind, what the theme is, any guest artists, maybe a little bit about the music, what people can expect when they come to see Sound Mind?
Okay, so believe it or not, Sound Mind explores mental health and mental illness with stories and original visual art, and it was planned way before the pandemic. So it was supposed to premiere fall 2020. And it was just put on hold, but the timing just feels so incredible now to have this be a part of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the really beautiful part, maybe I'll have Kymani talk about the music, because Kymani, I love the way you described it in some writing you did. But when we began the rehearsal season, I invited singers to write their own mental health or mental illness stories and share them each week at rehearsal. And they have just been poignant and beautiful and resilient. So we have now taken a number of those stories and filmed them, and they will be projected at the Ordway. And we have an incredible production manager who is we're building these brand new screens that are going to hang, and we'll project in the front, but also both sides of the Ordway. Some of the artwork that One Voicers have created and these stories as well. And Kymani, talk about the music.
There is some of everything. There are some familiar tunes like, Make Your Own Kind of Music, Bridge Over Troubled Water, Rise Up, Andrew Day. And then there are some songs that people have probably never heard, really dealing with all kinds of experiences in the mental health journey. There's a piece that really talks about bipolarism. And there's music. There's a commissioned piece that honors the lives of transgender women. Yes, there's a whole range of healing in this concert. So people should definitely, you'll want to be there. The first time I just sat and listened through the chorus run through the concert. It was emotional and cathartic. And to hear, the resilience in these stories, and that we are more than just still here, but we are here and learning what does it look like for us to thrive rather than, simply surviving. And really how do you support folks who are struggling? We all have some of our own struggles, but about the music, yes. That's get your healing. I think it's one of the most powerful things about music.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly music that is made from the voice. That just music activated by the voice activates a specific part of the brain that is not activated by anything else. So I think that sound mind is really poignant as well.
Yeah, I would love if you also talked a bit about the podcast that goes with Sound Mind and about the work you've been doing with folks in greater Minnesota specifically, or all over Minnesota, really, to tell their stories and just what that work looks like for you in general, doing performances. I know you tour out in greater Minnesota, and talk about why that's important.
Back when One Voice started, we used to do a fall retreat where we would go to a camp and all stay overnight. Sorry. And then one year we did a tour to, I think it was Western Minnesota. And it was so incredibly powerful. The queer folks who were out there, the allies who were there, the parents who drove like 3 hours in the dark to come see our concert. And it was just an incredible experience. And so we started doing these annual fall tours to greater Minnesota, particularly looking for places where LGBTQ people are just a little more isolated. And it's been a long history now, decades of touring in those communities. And I totally forgot your question, Paige. Oh, the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So before the pandemic, we had a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board to do a tour of this concert, of the Sound Mind concert. And we couldn't travel. And so we called them up and we said, okay, what if we would do a podcast and connect in those same communities that we were going to tour? And I ended up interviewing queer artists in those rural parts of Minnesota and just having conversations about their art and about their queerness and about their mental health. And you can check those out on our website as well. And they were beautiful conversations. And I think hearing their stories are, again, so important for people who are especially not in a metro area to know that there are queer folks out there and are out and doing amazing things as artists.
Yeah, because I can speak from experience. I went on one of the tours to Southeast Minnesota. We hit up Rochester and Winona and Cannon Falls and a couple of other places. And then I helped organize one of the tours up in northern Minnesota. I think we went to like Ely and Virginia and Mountain Iron and a couple of other places. And what was so striking to me, like I wasn't sure what we were going to get into. Like we're going to all these places I'd never heard of and all these, like I wasn't sure if it was going to be cool or what was going on. And people couldn't be more welcoming and more just lovely and so excited to have this group there, to have this outlet, to have, this community and to feel like they weren't alone. And so many people like coming up to me and being like, thank you so much for being here. This is so exciting. And it was just something for me, especially as a queer Black man, sort of in a new community myself. It all just felt there was just so much love and so much healing taking place that it really, it set me off, I know, on a new path and having a new relationship with myself and my community and my queerness and everything. And so I just think the work that you all do, I mean, you all know, I think you guys are great. So you guys are awesome. Well, everybody, Sound Mind is this June 18th and 19th at the Ordway. Please go get your tickets. Visit onevoicemn.org for more information. There'll be a link down in the show notes, so check that out. And do y'all have like social media channels you all want to maybe throw out there, like so people can follow you and see what you're doing?
Facebook. I'm the One Voice website, and you can always email community@onevoicemn.org as well. If there's more that you want to learn about the course, or you want to request a performance, or you want to be involved in the youth planning team.
And there's a volunteer corps, right? The 5th section.
Yes. If you want to volunteer, you can email volunteers@onevoicemn.org as well. Yes.
All right. Go for it, Jen.
You can get 25% off your ticket price by using the code SING, SING, SING.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Oh,
Well, Jane, Kymani, thank you so much for being with us. Everybody go see Sound Mind. It's going to be super dope. Everybody go heal this Pride season, because Lord knows we all need it. All right. Thank you so much. And we're so looking
Thank
forward to seeing you
you.
again.
Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy
Pride.
Pride. And we are back. We just want to thank Jane and Kymani for being with us once again. Everybody go see Sound Mind this weekend at the Ordway. It's going to be awesome. And as usual, we are going to close out our show with our favorite segment. Ready, Paige?
Ready.
And a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. It's peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly.
My favorite song. Except for maybe my PBJ. But this is Pure Black Joy, where we highlight all of the beautiful Black things that are making us happy this week. Lee, do you want to go first?
I will, because this is so anticlimactic, but it does actually connect to something we were talking about a couple of months ago. So everybody in America, except for Rocky, is obsessed with Abbott Elementary. And
True.
And there's a character on Abbott Elementary, which is, just so everybody knows, if you're not watching it, first of all, shame on you. But secondly, it's set in Philadelphia. It's about a group of young teachers teaching at a predominantly Black elementary school. And one of the teachers, played by Tyler James Williams of Everybody Hates Chris fame, he plays a teacher called Gregory, a young, tall, lanky Black man teaching these kids almost against his will. And I find the character so funny because he reminds me so much of my brother-in-law, who is a tall, lanky Black man who teaches kids. I know that he enjoys it, but like his general disposition is one of, if you didn't know he liked kids, I promise you would have no clue that he likes kids. So he's also from Philadelphia. So I saw him last weekend and we were chatting and I was telling him about the show because I thought he would really get a kick out of watching it. He seemed like he had never heard of it, but I started describing the cast to him and I mentioned Quinta Brunson, who is the star of the show, who also created and writes the show. And he's like, wait a minute, Quinta Brunson. Why do I know that name? He was like, oh yeah, we went to high school together.
Oh.
So casually. I was like, oh, then you should really watch the show with your lawyer, just in case you recognize any characters on it.
You should catch up. Yeah.
He really, really does. And just see what he looks like played out on the show. And so the sidebar of it is that there is a character they introduced, like on the last episode or two, who is the daughter of Cheryl Lee Ralph's character. And I'd already said Cheryl Lee Ralph is clearly playing my mother. And the girl who plays her daughter looks so much like my sisters that it's almost like pause worthy. So I really do think we may have a lawsuit on our hands just in case. So if I come back 2 weeks, a very wealthy man, you all will know why. So this is a pre-PB&J to the millions that my family is going to make when we take ABC to court.
Fabulous. Well, watch out, Quinta.
And congrats on being newly rich.
Pride drinks on me.
Oh, okay. Well, that money might go pretty quick then. You got a lot. Well, my PBJ, I'm so excited about. Y'all, we have a new Pride anthem. It's been stuck in my head for like a week now. And I don't know if you all are you familiar with Angel Maxine? She is a Ghanaian trans woman. She's an activist and artist. It's everything. It's everything. It is everything. And like last year, she put out this song. It's called Wofie. And that is, I believe the dialect is Twi from the Asante people. And it means mind your business. Period, point blank. And it is just demolishes all of, right now, as in so many countries, including the US, LGBTQ rights are under attack in a major and violent way. And she wrote a song about how homophobia does not make any sense on any level. That, it's something that was brought over from the colonizers. It is not a part of Ghanaian culture. And queer people exist, and you all just need to think about it and get over it. So if you have not heard the song, though, it is a bop and a half. And it went viral on Twitter and TikTok maybe about a week and a half ago. And it was part of like this like pride fishing meme, like brands on June 1st are like this or whatever. And I was just like, oh, I'm not sure if this is a joke or not. And then I saw the whole thing and I was like, not only is this not a joke, it is my new life. So I will share my screen and we can get a little taste of it.
It's nice to be nice. Your driver could be LGBTQ. Your tailor could be LGBTQ. Hairdresser could be LGBTQ. Your plumber could be LGBTQ. Your doctor could be LGBTQ. Your teacher could be LGBTQ. Your bestie could be LGBTQ. The African mermaid.
I mean, that's everything.
It is the new Pride
It's the anthem.
Like, we're playing it every year on June 1st, blasting it from the front porch.
Absolutely.
And I had seen that before a couple of times, but just without I had only seen the part like towards the end where they're in front of the flag, but I've seen that many times and I feel seen. I really like it.
Angel Maxine, you did that.
Yes.
So we will put a link to her GoFundMe also in the show notes in case you want to go and support some Ghanaian LGBTQ plus activism, and please do.
Shout out to her for real, because like the stuff that she was saying at the beginning about like it being dangerous to be out and proud in Ghana, from what I hear and what I see from West Africans on my timeline, is very true. And despite like the year of return and them trying to welcome African Americans or folks from across the diaspora, like they're not really accepting of queer folks. And so I appreciate you bringing it up, because it's someplace where we can have a voice and support our our siblings in Ghana.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of Black queer excellence,
Yes.
my pure Black joy is the wonderful, talented, rapping his butt off, Saucy Santana.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Material Girl.
Yes.
I love me some Saucy Santana. And I want to say congrats to him. I mean, on number one, just on being like out here and having hits and like making like some of the songs are like such club bangers right now. Like even people who are like, yo, I can't deny that like I have to play this in like when the party goes up and all that, like people want to hear it. And being dark skinned and gay and femme, like at that, like overtly femme gay man is just as well, and like bigger bodied as well, like thick, like I'm living. But congrats to him specifically for being on the most recent cover of Teen Vogue.
Oh.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it just came out like yesterday or something, like the cover photos, and looks absolutely fabulous. Like just yes, looking like the city girl he is, and like his little mini skirt and all this and the shades, and from what I've seen just seems to be a delightful human being as well. Like, so congrats to Saucy Santana, making my Black queer heart very happy this Pride Month.
Yes, fabulous. No shout out, by the way, to BET. Justice for Lil Nas X, because that was trash. But
and for Pose, we ain't forget.
That's
I ain't forget.
Trash. Absolute trash. Anyway, but enough about that. Enough bad things. What a beautiful show this was. Oh, I feel so happy now. That was exactly what I needed. Because there's some fun things happening out in the ether.
Absolutely.
In this world in general. And so to be able to end this hour with a smile, I thank both of you. This has been so fun. So everyone check out the show notes. Make sure you get your tickets for Sound Mind, One Voice Mixed Chorus. Once again, thank you to Jane and Kymani for being with us. Yes. Claps and snaps.
Thank you.
And we will not have a show between now and Juneteenth. So happy Juneteenth to everyone out there.
Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth. Don't Juneteenth fish, please. But please do write us a review, give us 5 stars, subscribe on your favorite podcast app, and tell all your friends about us. And write to us, thescore@mnopera.org. We want to hear from you. But other than that, any words of wisdom, anybody? Don't spend all your Quinta money on Pride drinks.
We shall see.
We shall see. But everybody stay safe out there, and have a happy Pride. Enjoy.
Happy Pride.
All right, we'll see you next time.